Welcome to Burned and Better. I'm your host, Dr. Tristan Weber, a seven-figure CEO, speaker, mother, entrepreneur, and chiropractor. Over the last 15 years, I've faced the highest highs and the lowest lows of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and leadership. I've burned more times than I can count, but every time I've found a way through and come out better. This isn't about polished highlight reels. It's about the real, unfiltered side of leading, the kind of conversations usually kept behind closed doors. Here, I share my own stories and sit down with leaders who've stumbled, recalibrated, and built something worth leading. So if you've ever felt the weight of success or wonder what it looks like to fall hard but rise stronger, you're in the right place. Let's normalize the messy middle of leadership and step into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Burned and Better. I am so excited to have my next guest, which is the one, the only, and my better half, Tristan Weber. Welcome to the podcast, babe.
Thanks so much. Gosh, I'm so excited to be here.
So awkward, y'all. I'm pumped to come on here. We wanted to share a little bit of me and Tristan. We've been married for now 22 years, which is pretty impressive. Not only are we legal to drink in our marriage, but we've now been together longer than we've been solo or alive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. We've been together longer than we were apart.
It's just crazy. Anyway, so everyone knows, whoever knows me knows that me and Tristan, we go, our anniversary is like in January. It's January 10th. And we have prioritized a visioneering weekend for the last, how long do you think that is?
I would say at least 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
To where like we use our anniversary trip as like a visioneering weekend. And so I remember it was She Slays. It was Lauren and Kirby had us on a couple years ago talking about this very topic on a podcast episode. And we just have made it's been a routine thing. We try to go to different places, and mainly to I want to go in different places. You want to add to that?
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows I'm a creature of habit. I like what I like. And when I find a place that I know where everything is and I know where all the places, that's my thing. Is like, if we're going to go somewhere, I want to go somewhere. Like, I don't want to waste an experience to come home and be like, yeah, we shouldn't have done those 4 things. Like, I like to go places where I'm like, I know this is going to be a 10 out of 10. Like, we're not going to do the things we don't want to do, and we're only going to do the things we want to do. So yeah, go ahead now.
We're going to come back to that because we ended up finding out in this trip, it's really funny. We ended up having a human design couple session, which we'll share a little bit more about. But this totally tracks for Tristan's, what's it called? Like the kind of like your nature or anyway. And so we'll get back to that here in a second. But anyway, so we always go to our favorite place on earth is like our happiest place on earth is Seaside, Florida. Seaside watercolor. We love that area. It is just laid back. We know the places that we love to eat. We have like our staple places, and it's almost like our brain just gets to rest. Like, we're not having to use our brain to know like where to eat or plan all that out. It's mainly like, it's just relaxed enough to where we can ebb and flow and get through whatever we're wanting to get through, whether we're wanting to workshop something, whether we're wanting to go through logistics. Like our visioneering session and all, we end up making like an executive summary at the end of this. So it's like tax strategy. our CPA was like, you need to have an executive summary of this. You can write this off. So we're writing off our anniversary trip to our favorite place, which is great. But I'll see if I put that in the show notes. Anyway, but we go to Seaside, and then we have this visioneering weekend. And do you remember where it stemmed from? Like, what kind of prompted us to do this? Start this.
The way I remember it is we booked a trip. This was the first time we'd ever been to Seaside in the winter, obviously in January. We'd been a ton in the summer. And we just said, let's take a trip. I think it probably started with your amazing parents. Were probably like, you know what? Well, let's watch the kids. Y'all go do something for your anniversary. So we dropped the kids off and decided to go back to Seaside just to see how it was. And we get to Seaside, you're there in the winter, so you're on the beach. We were just hanging out. And I think it just kind of stemmed from, we just kind of naturally got out our calendars and started just talking about the last year and talking about things that we could do better and things that we thought we did great. And, how can we be more intentional? Mm-hmm. This is, I think, just kind of who we both kind of are already as just people, that we're both don't waste a minute.
We don't like wasting time, y'all. Like
Yeah.
we don't, I mean, and we'll get to that we found that out a little bit more from Maggie's session with us,
That's right. But yeah, so
Okay.
we just kind of laid it all out, and then we came home. We are like, man, it just kind of put us on a better trajectory for the year. I
Yeah.
mean, that the intention for the year just seemed to hit a little better, where, intentional date nights and intentional time with the kids and intentional work and, the flow of the year, knowing when I was going to be really busy. I was still coaching at the time, hey, here's the seasons of what my schedule is going to look like. And you shared, here's some projects I'm taking on. And for us to kind of know those rhythms going into the year, the year was so much smoother.
Yeah. And it just so happens that our like anniversary again falls in January. So it's like New Year's is already happening. And actually it was nice because we were having like a decompressing time from the holidays after. It's like this big exhale. But yeah, it was nice because we were already in this like, what do we want for the year anyway? And then our anniversary happens right there. So we get to have some intentional time. I mean, and I'll say from the past years, this has looked different every single year. Like we have an intention, and we've tried to have ultra structure around this. We've tried to, I remember one year we went and nothing that we had structured was done, or that we had intended. The intention, like our systems needed rest. And so we rested the whole time. And of course there was talk, and then we would talk about what, we would hit on those things, but it was less pen to paper. It was more of conversational.
Yeah, it was rest. I mean,
it was rest.
And I also remember us coming back because we had this plan of what we wanted to do. And
I love a plan.
Yeah, we both love a plan. That type A drivers here, that we had a plan, we went, and it ended up not being any of that. And we came home, we were like, we just failed our visioneering weekend.
I know, we did. We judged ourselves, y'all.
It was
bad.
But it helped us moving forward take off the expectation of what is the weekend supposed to look like, put some things out. Here's where we kind of are. We always love to just connect and hang out and leave space and, have a plan, but remove the expectation that we're going to, minute by minute, know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. So there's been some trying on different things and, figuring this out as we've gone along. So every year's, typically falls around the same kind of structure, but every year is different depending upon what our system's needing. But this year, it looked like there was a period of time, I had a time lapse on it, but it was like, it was nice, by the way. And usually this falls at Songwriters Festival on 30A. And so we didn't know that. Like we typically we go with our family to 30A in the summer. And so it's always popping. It's always busy. And then we went in January, and man, we could get into any restaurant. It was awesome. Could get in our favorite Great Southern with no wait time.
Yeah.
Get a nice mojito. It's wonderful. I only have mojitos there. Like I don't have mojitos in my life ever, but for whatever reason, when we get to Great Southern or Bud and Alley's, I have a mojito in my hand. It's crazy. But we can get into anywhere. And then all of a sudden we find in January, it's beautiful. No one's there. It's easy. And then there's this Songwriters Festival, and there's great music everywhere. So it's crazy. It was a little gem that we happened upon. But this year we kind of, first off, we went into calendars and things that we've said yes to already. So like, what are the things that we've said yes to? We also ran into, and we talked about this last night, but like we said yes to a little too many things. And now we're paying the price.
Yeah, Q1 a little overcommitted.
It was a little overcommitted. And so when we sat there together, we were like, this is not what we're doing in the future. Like we need to be cognizant of some overlapping seasons of sports for our kids. We can just feel the squeeze a little bit, especially with our 15-year-old. She's not driving yet. I have feelings about that. But we're living in our cars, y'all. We are schlepping kids to and fro, and one is not close by. So, there's a lot of podcasts listening to. There's a lot of audiobook. There's a lot of voice notes to my team that's happening here. But we had our planners out. we were going through the year, commitments, trips, coaching.
Well, I think, and I'll add to the calendar piece that like something we found early on is, it's the old story of like if you got a jar of time, and if you put the big things in first and then the smaller things and then the smallest things, you can fit it all in there. But if you try to put all the small things in first and then put the big things in, you can't, there's no room.
Yeah.
So that's where the calendar piece has evolved for us, where it's like, what are the most important priorities for our calendar? We intentionally carve out, we're not going to put anything on Sunday morning. Like we are going to go to church on Sunday morning with our church family. We are going to
weekly date
nights. That was something I didn't do a great job of, but amazingly, when you put it on the calendar and it's there every week, you don't put things on that night. It's already blocked, mommy kid dates. And
so we scheduled those to be like every other week each of us is pairing off with the other kiddo and having our one-on-one date nights with our kids. Or other things that we were putting on the calendar.
We always look at, where do we want to go? What work trips do we have? What pleasure trips do we have? What family trips do we have? And try to, it's not like we're booking the entire year, but also kind of having an idea of, hey, you know what, into July, we're gonna try to take a week to go somewhere. And hey, we've got, I'm traveling to these things, and you
golf
put
trips.
Golf trips and work/fun trips, and you put all these things on the calendar, and then you go, okay, now what do we have capacity for? What we found in this little 2 or 3 month stretch right here is that we want to prioritize our family dinners at home, and we overcommitted, and we can't get as many of those as we want. So that's where we're intentionally dialing back.
And I will say, like, we start with an assessment of the year. We assess the previous year. Like, what did we like? What do we want more of? What do we want less of? And then we get into the current, like, going forward. I would say then we had leisure. We had some just like reading time that we just set aside. The sun is out, we are going to be out there. And it's crazy. And then it was like freezing cold in Florida the week after, which is nuts. But the biggest thing I wanted to give as an anniversary gift to Tristan, I did a human design session with Maggie Hilpish. I think it was in October of last year for just me, just to she's friends with Steph. And I was like, you know what? She's like, you need to get a session with Maggie. So I did. And you'll get to actually hear from her. I have her as the next interview. So get ready. I'm so excited to interview her because I have some questions, but she was able to give me some insight into how, like, the kind of my fabric. And there were places that I've been shaming myself, like, for not, functioning the way that I want to function. She's like, actually, you're spiraling in a time where you're actually needing some reprieve. It was just nice to have a permission slip on some of the things how I've been built. And I had that done, but I wanted to have a couples one done. So we had a session scheduled. So while we were in Seaside, had Maggie zoom in or like a Zoom call, and we had kind of like both of ours done. And it was so interesting to hear Tristan's, because not only was it good just to like know what your partner, we both said we wish we would have done that like a long time ago.
That would have been invaluable as a early married couple to hear the tendencies and need for different rhythms. And it would have been huge.
Yeah. It helps you understand your partner a little bit more, but also it was good to see like where we could run into each other. And then also where we really superpower like how we function as a couple. So like how we synergistically come together and where like our strengths are. And good places to see our tendencies, but also be able to call that out in real time now, to where it's like, hey, remember, you're not giving yourself that permission slip to just like be. And I'll give you an example of that here in a second. But I wanted Tristan to share his takeaways, because I feel like I always end up taking over the conversation. Sorry.
Love that about you.
Okay.
Like to hear you talk.
Sure.
No, my takeaways were very similar to yours. I know it was very couple driven, but she kind of spent some time on each of us I had no idea. Literally, Denise was like, "Hey, we're going to do something on the trip," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure, whatever." You haven't led me astray yet. And so she kind of just—that's really all she'd said. I knew she had done the human design last year, but I didn't know really. I had no idea what to expect. It was amazing to see a confirmation of, you know what, this is who God made you to be, and you don't have to be. Not that I needed permission, but I think we're both pretty comfortable in our own skin. But just the reaffirmation of this is who you're designed to be. Lean into those rhythms that feel right for what you're doing, and lean into the rhythms that give you, when you feel like, one of the big words that she kept saying with me is like, when you're in the flow, like stop for a second, take a note and go, okay, what was I doing when it felt effortless? Because that was kind of, she's like, one of your superpowers is when you're in the flow, like you're going to learn things quickly. You're going to really latch on.
You lose track of time.
You lose track of time, which is, for all my years coaching football, gosh, I'd, start working, and next thing I know, I look up and it's 10 p.m. I got to get home. Like, having.
I knew you lost track of time.
You did. I would get a call long before then, usually, to remind me of what time it was. But, getting into these flow state moments of, recognizing what were you doing, how did it feel, and learning from myself of how can I better put myself in more situations like that. And then the counter to that is, when it feels really, really hard, it's okay to go, you know what, I'm going to finish what I started here, but after this, I'm going to say no to that.
Yeah. What the no feels like.
Yeah.
What the no feels like.
And the no, I feel like, was kind of both of our, that we have this kind of a bit, at times we want to please and step out. And it's like, she's like, the more you say no, the more you're going to realize the power you have in what your yeses are.
Mm-hmm. That was a good takeaway on yours. We both are generators. So that's what's very interesting. We're two generators married to each other, and we do not have generator children. We have a projector and we have a manifester. And so when we told her what our kids were and what we were, she was like, oh, so you guys can just go, 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 go. And your kids are just like hitched to your wagon. They can't go. Like, they cannot go. An example of this would be in our ice storm, which I have another episode coming out with some of the stuff like there, because I've been a purgeaholic.
Which I love about you too. I love when Denise goes purge mode. I'm leaning in. Let's
watch out, guys. Things are changing. Anyway, so we go into. I started the garage project, and I'll talk about that later. But I started the garage project, and I come home after doing a little part of that.
Well, we planned.
We did plan.
People were like, "Oh, you just kind of did this," and it was like, "No, we knew planned. This. We knew the ice storm was happening. We knew that as it got more and more confirmed, it was like, well, do you want to do a project? Like, what's the chance we're going to be a few days just kind of hunkered down at home? What do we want to do?"
Yes, I came home. I came home at 9:30. And you were knee deep in junk in our garage.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm ready to go to bed. And he was like, I just got started, and I mean, I stayed there with him till 11:30 while our kids are like putting themselves in bed. We're going and checking in on them. The next morning, me and him stayed down there, and we paid, Sissy some money to babysit, and we just knocked it out. And we forgot to eat lunch. And that is a great example of what two generators are together. And we didn't pause for 1 second. We were like, we're seeing it through the end. We're getting this done. We're going to we just, we put task and we're going to knock it out. Like, that's what we're going to do. And we didn't stop until we were done. And then we were like, okay, exhale. Yeah. Maggie was like, you guys, like, your kids are not that way. And so sometimes me and Tristan look at each other sometimes with our kids, and we're like, who are these kids? Like, who is that? Who is this? And it's not me. It's definitely not you. And in a great way. They're not like us. And it's interesting hearing from her perspective of kind of like what these things mean, and what, how your energy works within you, and how it's different for every single person. So, but what did you like about what she shared about with us together?
I think the biggest takeaway for us as a couple for me was just knowing getting to hear her perspective on the natural rhythms of what you need and being able to help add fuel to the fire on things that need a little fuel, and how to bring you out of patterns that aren't good for you. One of the things I know she talked about with you was needing that downtime to get ready for the next lightning strike. Like, that's one of my big takeaways. It's like, and you as a generator, it's like, I didn't do anything today. I was lazy today. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you were lazy? There's 19 things that I know you did today that are super valuable for you and our family and your practice and your business and all the things you have going on. You weren't lazy. But hearing that from her is like, well, now I can, hey, you know what, Denisa, it's okay to give you permission. You're not being lazy. You're gathering energy for the next lightning strike. Like, lightning can't strike all the time in a storm. It has to gather the energy first before it strikes. And it's more powerful by gathering the energy first. Well, like, that was huge for me.
It will delay it. It delays it. And so which helps me, because as a generator, I need a reminder to always value rest and margin, and that's what I've kind of learned more about this year with me is, I'm going to go for a walk. We literally was talking about this past weekend at Steph's event, and it was about margin. Like, it was just and to retraining my nervous system that I could even pause for a little bit, or to having breathing room is productive. And I think even like Benjamin Hardy, I think that's right, and Dan Sullivan talk about this in the book 10X is easier than 2X. And how, like, even like actors and actresses, they'll prioritize their schedules are performance days, and then they have rehearsal days, and then they have buffer days and or rejuvenation days. And so he talks, I think him and his partner prioritize, I think 188 days of rest, 188 days they pre-plan for nothing on the schedule. And because he's like, and then on my focus days, that's when I get my top 3 things done. And then I go and I rest. And I'm like, wow. And he's like, you can't 10X by doing more. And that's really interesting to hear as a generator. And I've really embraced more margin and more prioritization of rest. But when I get in these places where it's like, I'm not doing enough, for me to hear myself say that means I'm not in alignment with my energy. So what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say the next biggest takeaway was, obviously, the more you've kind of trained in some AI specific things, is being able to take a lot of what was given to us. And again, now, we're talking about visioneering. It was a goal setting visioneering weekend. I spent some time after plugging this into some AI, with some very detailed prompts, creating this coach that literally helped me, knowing who I am and the rhythms I need and the rhythms of our family and of you, what are realistic ways to reach the goals that I set, both from, business and family and relationships and friendships, and just kind of laying all that out and getting to where, I was able to help me, the AI bot was able to help me generate maybe some of the best daily processes that I've had in a long time for actually achieving not just one of the 5 or 6 goals, but of trying to hopefully reach all of them.
Yeah. I did like when she talked about, she was like, you guys have a lot of solidness as a couple, when she put both of our charts on top of each other. That was really cool to see, and why. And we did get to see like where we have compromise channels and where we have, tendencies for risks and conflict. And just like, she was like, communication is critical, which, communication is critical in any relationship, but it's like, some people are a little more, I don't know, what would you say?
I think it just
more susceptible to, she was like, it's really for you guys, like, it's about being seen and heard. And I know that has a need for everybody, but in our chart specifically, it really highlighted that, why we had, such a rough start. Like, first couple years of marriage were rocky. They were just like, we were trying to,
it was hard.
And it had a lot to do with these very things. And we're like, yep, that takes us right back to where we were. at that time.
Yeah. And I mean, I think she also, one of the things that, one of the big takeaway was like, yeah, she's like, people that, whose charts look like these oftentimes come from not trauma, but just have had some big life events. And we kind of definitely have had some big life events, but it's just very, that conversation was very, I don't know, it's just a super positive, feel like get to know at an even deeper level your partner.
Yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed getting to hear Tristan's and seeing us together. And then we just went to lunch and we just kind of like taking our biggest takeaways from it and talking about it and processing it. And Tristan's like come up with these, we have core values for our family, and we talk about it with the kids at our family dinners, and they like tell us back what the Weber core values are. Do you want to share those?
Yeah, I can share them. I just want to lead with like the core values kind of stemmed from my coaching days when I was.
Yeah, backtrack. Tristan was a high school football coach for 17 years, 15 years for the Highland Park Scots with 3 state titles. Go Scots. And then he was the passing game coordinator at South Lake Carroll for a year with Coach Riley Dodge, who's now at SMU. And his quarterback was Quinn Ewers at the time. And then
he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. And then he was the assistant head football coach at Allen here in Texas. It's the biggest high school in the state. And then he walked away from a coaching career of 17 years. I don't know. Do we put a little bit of that in here?
I think that may be a whole, if you want to enter that conversation,
whole other episode.
We can lean into, if you want to hear that story. But
anyway, God put it on his heart to walk out of that, and we can talk a little bit more maybe in a transitional episode. But
there's definitely, but just from a leadership perspective, I was that was my job as a football coach. I was a football coach by trade, but my job was to create leaders. Like I was leader training all the time. Like the best teams, the teams that won state, we won state because we had great leaders. So part of that leader training is establishing in the program, like they need to know what the core values are. Mm-hmm. You ask a kid, what are your core values? And they don't have any idea. Well, that you got a football program that is just all over the map. Well, fast forward and it's like, well, what's the Weber family about? Like that was kind of resonating in my spirit of like, what's the Weber family? I'm like, we don't have core values. Like if you ask our kid, like, what's our family about? I think they would probably say Jesus. Mm-hmm. We love Jesus, mm-hmm. but after that, it was like, anyway, so, my creative mind, I'm not super creative, but had a little help. And I need to help memorize things. I need an acronym or a song or something. So I created with our last 5 letters of our last name, Weber, a core value that associates with each letter. We put together a verse that is affiliated with that core value. Mm-hmm. So the kids, by the end of the year, they're going to learn all 5 of the core values. We're going to talk in depth about these core values with them. Mm-hmm. They're going to memorize the scripture that helps affirm that core value. And then, the goal is that, these become life verses for them as a Weber. But the core values that, I can share these, the first one is wait on the Lord's timing. And the verse is Jeremiah 29:11. You want me to read the verse? Or? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. The next one is effort towards excellence. It's Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not human masters. The B is be a blessing. 2 Timothy 2:15. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth. The next E is encourage one another. Hebrews 3:13, but encourage one another daily as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. And then the R is receive the gift of grace daily. And that's Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by grace that you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. So that was another.
Yeah. And we talk about these at our dinner table with the kids, and the kids are able to tell us the verse and what it's about. And, we wanted to prioritize in this year, making sure, obviously we join our church attendance, but also our Bible studies, like within our community, and then making sure our kids are part of their youth groups and like they have extracurriculars that have to do with their faith. Yeah, core values is a thing. And so we talk a lot about this in our practices. And if practices don't have core values, then usually it's wheels off just as much. Like more like winning or teams that win state titles, no core values of the team. It's the culture. Same thing with practices or inside anyone's office. If you don't have core values inside the office, then it's hard to establish culture. And I've had years where we didn't establish culture and it was not as good as the times that we have established culture. And what's crazy too, like even like this Burned and Better podcast, like my leadership, I would look to, Tristan is a natural leader. He leads our family well. He leads these boys, and even now is like doing a Bible study for these past players now, which is really cool. Yeah. As they're walking into being, they're already men, and they're, maybe about to get married or whatever. But like he was like leading, and then I would be in my practice not leading well. And like, I would come home and tell him about what's going on and all these things. It just was like it was just this crazy difference between the two. Cause here I had a husband that knew how to lead, and I was not doing that in my own practice, which was very interesting. But I don't know, it's all kind of changed and come together.
For sure. No, and imperfectly leading. I think that's the biggest thing is allowing grace. She didn't say you're hard on yourself, but those of you that know her, she's
well, I don't know.
She's good.
Anyway, but this is just our intentionality with our anniversary. It's not just like, well, let's go. Like we're kind of not those people anyway, but we love like decompressing. We like to spend time together. We like to be intentional. And we also like to know like where we're going. Like if obviously God has got surprises up his sleeve, we're totally open to that. Again, one of my word for the year, like we talk about our words for the year. I talked about my word being expectant. I want to be expectant of the Lord. I've already talked about this in an episode. His word is
my words expand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, leaving that open and seeing where the expansion happens. But that I just feel like the last 3 or 4 years have kind of led to, Denise is expectant and I'm ready to blow up some things in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let the Lord blow them up.
That's right. Let God blow up the places that need to be expanded.
Yeah. But it all starts in our minds. And so that's where, that's why I get in rooms with people that are doing more than me. It's easier to know, like, it's easier for me to accept it as, like this can be done if I see it walked out, if I see it being done. Like if I see other people pushing limit, I'm like, oh, okay, it's possible. Like, and it's possibility mindset, it's growth mindset. And so we both felt each other's words. And so like when he shared that, I was like, that's totally his word. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just think this is, this weekend, our visioneering weekend is one of my favorite weekends of the entire. It might be my favorite. I don't know if there's another one that I love
think
more.
It's mine.
That it's a reset, it's a recenter, a reconnection usually in a beautiful place. I think one time we got kicked from an ice storm and had to just go to a hotel here in Dallas.
Yeah.
We couldn't. We were grounded, so your parents were already here, so we literally braved the ice to drive to a hotel.
Y'all, we were supposed to go to Florida, and then we had to pivot. No, you still had you were in the playoffs, so it got nixed. This was 2020.
There was a couple of times.
2021, whatever. Anyway, so then our lake house is in Oklahoma, so we were like, we'll go to our lake house because we can go there. We'll just drive there. Well, no. A massive ice storm happened, another one. And we were like, we're going to Carlton Landing for our anniversary. And everyone that was like heard or saw us message about this, like that were up there, they were like, do not come. And showed a truck basically is almost off a cliff just by
sliding off the road.
I was like, oh no, that maybe we shouldn't be doing that. So we went to the Omni Frisco. We went to the Star. That was a pivot. I didn't like that pivot. We made the most of it. And I do not like a Dallas ice storm. Let's just say that, unless I can get something organized at the same time.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's on to another episode. But anyway, you'll get to hear more from Maggie in this probably next week's episode, guys. I'm excited for you to hear from her. I got some neat little questions up my sleeve for her. So anyway, but we'll leave a attached PDF in the show notes for an executive summary, example of an executive summary that you could submit to your accountant, or no, have proof of, in case you need to have proof of it, just when you can write off these trips and stuff like that. But anything else? You good?
Yeah, great.
Well, we hope to bring Tristan back on. He's the backbone here. He helps me, not spiral, and if I do, kind of grounds me back, and he's my better half for it. So cheers to many more, babe.
Cheers.
Love you.
Love you.
And I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to Burned and Better. Follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, tap 5 stars or write us a quick review. That's how this work is going to grow. I'd love to hear what stood out for you in this conversation. Share this episode, tag me at Southern_Cairo on Instagram, and pass it on to someone who needs it today.